Good to see everybody. I know you guys are going to ask me on the injury update, so just a couple updates there on those guys. Roddy and Scotty are making progress. So we'll see. They're kind of being evaluated day to day, but they're making good progress. So it's encouraging for Saturday. Tayson's been out with injury not related to his knee. His knee's healthy, so he's certainly questionable going into Saturday. As far as UCLA, big physical. They've got a terrific front line, great size. Bonus returning player who's probably as physical and as hard at playing big as anybody will play. UCLA's, as we talked about, physical as, they're a typical MIC team. They're physical. They rebound it well. Probably as good a defensive team as we'll play all year. Certainly the best defensive team we've played up to this point, both with their size and just their physicality. So it's a well-coached team, and we're excited about the challenge on Saturday.
Obviously, the hot shooting half that Penn State had, the second half of that game, was something they hadn't really shown as much to this point in the season. Just 61% from the field and the three-point success they had in the second half. How much of that, looking back on film, was things you did defensively, and how much of that was just them, hitting shots?
I think a lot of it was they made shots. They played a lineup they haven't played a whole lot. A lot of skill, and those guys really made shots. There were certainly some defensive errors, more probably frustrated with our work on the glass, but give them credit. They've made shots.
What do you say to, build and get better on the defensive rebounding? Because obviously that's been an issue that's kind of persisted in several games this year.
We just have to keep working on it. We have to keep working on it, keep emphasizing it. Our guys, we've had pockets where we've been good with it, but consistently that's been an issue. So we've just got to keep getting better with it. Got to keep working on it, keep emphasize it, and our guys have to really embrace that.
So after the game, I asked Zed, is it a good thing or a bad thing that you go a week without playing? And he said it's a great thing. Like immediately, that was his response. What has it been like to have this week to not only address kind of what happened, but prepare for UCLA? How do you think this team has handled the week to this point of having some time after such a congested portion of the schedule? Yeah,
it was a lot of games. A lot of games. I think. Listen, guys understand. They, for the most part, guys have perspective. They know how college basketball works. It's a lot of games, and sometimes you're gonna have great wins, and you're gonna have some tough losses, and it's about kind of how you respond in both those situations. So we'll see how we respond. They've had a good approach. We've also been able to give them a little bit of time off since we've both been a little bit banged up, and then they've just needed it because that stretch was a really, really long stretch of kind of on almost every day for about 17 days.
So when you were just talking about like working on the rebounding and things like that, do you spend a lot of time this week like dome on the rim, shots like drills like that? Is that a primary focus for when you have a chance to reset like this a little? Yeah,
that's been something we've consistently done really throughout the year, and it's certainly been a theme this week in practice for sure. Is having the bubble on the rim.
When you look back at these games in the CBS Sports Classic, what do you feel like you get out of them each year? I know there's been different results and different opponents, but just generally, what do you like? What do you maybe dislike about it?
A lot of great stuff. You're talking about blue blood basketball programs for one. So to kind of align ourselves in that group of three other teams that are historically basketball schools. I've talked about that. There's great value in us as a program aligning ourselves with that, and we're unique in that sense. Obviously, being a school that is just a little bit different in terms of those three schools. So it's great. It's always good teams. It's always good competition. You're almost always playing tournament teams. Some that are high seeds. Some that are. I think last year was a little bit unique. But most of the time, you're going to be playing teams that are tournament teams. I think UCLA is a bona fide tournament team. I know how they'll continue to grow and get better. So, yeah, it's a great challenge, and I just love the event. I love it. Obviously, it's exciting that you get to go back to Atlanta for Bruce. That's a really cool thing for him and his family. So excited for Bruce to be able to get back to his hometown. But the event in general, zero complaints. I just love being in it.
And I know you guys obviously played neutral sites down in Florida, but having Cleveland to prepare you for a Big Ten tournament, potential NCAA tournament, is there something in seeing what a neutral site venue is multiple times throughout the year?
Yeah. There's some value in that for sure. Yeah, there really is some value in that. I think, as I mentioned, we thought we were going to be able to get a little bit of a taste of a road environment down in Florida, and then we had all the Buckeye fans come down, and it really, in the Alabama game, it was really 50-50. We might even have more fans than them. I did kind of want that a little bit to prepare us for what I knew we were going to face, at Penn State. But these neutral environments they're great environments, but it's really as much as anything about the competition. From what I understand, the ticket sales in this particular game and event have been great. I think it's sold out for both games. So, that's exciting that it's getting that kind of traction down there.
When a comeback like that happens, and I think this is a tribute that first time in your time at Ohio State that your team lost a game that it led by double digits at halftime, and it hasn't happened much, if at all.
Yeah.
So when something like this begins to start to happen, how do you identify it? What can you do?
Yeah.
And I don't know, what was the response in this case, I suppose?
Well, a couple of things. I think, one, it got cut from 18 to 11 and then 7 in an instant. It was 18, I think, one time, and then it was bang right to 11. And I think the biggest challenge for us, Steve, in this has been our group understanding the importance of sustaining an effort and focusing for longer stretches of time, regardless of where the score is. Now, listen, we know college basketball teams are going to make runs, especially when they're at home. That's the reality. But what can we do to control it? We can certainly be more on point with our focus, our concentration, and our effort in the midst of those situations. That's not always going to eliminate every run. Guys are going to step up and make plays. They made shots that they hadn't made up to this point. But there were certainly some things in our control that we have to do better.
Yeah. Looks like they threw a zone at you at times during that stretch, and I wouldn't say tentative, but the shots weren't, like Zed had to take a contested turnaround shot on the baseline, and there were a couple panic late clock turnovers too, it felt like. Just what can you do to be more aggressive, assertive against a zone in those situations, I guess? Yeah,
it was a zone that they were matching up out of as well, and they were really matching up with our guys. So it was a little bit different than, let's say some of the zones we'd seen who were more traditional zones. So we're going to see that zone to man concept or matchups. We have to get a little bit more movement. We have to get a little bit more aggressive, and certainly attack it with more urgency. And we mentioned that in a couple of the timeouts. I thought we were just too slow getting the ball up the floor against their soft press. We needed to get into stuff quicker. And then once we did, I thought we attacked it well. We did a good job out of a couple timeouts. Evan got a dunk off of an action. But we got to be more aggressive with it.
Chris, you mentioned perspective. I just wonder, how long does it take for that to come along with these second-year guys? Do you feel like there's a difference between last year and this year, maybe, in seeing a game like this unfold and knowing, I guess, being able to turn the page quicker from a loss like that? Yeah,
no. I mean, listen, again, this is guys are college. They play college basketball. You understand it's a long season. You got a lot. There's going to be great wins, and so. The big thing is how you respond. Our guys have been great. Our guys have been great. We had a great film session. Move forward and figure out how we can get better. I love this group. I love their approach. We've had a good start. We've had a really good start to the season. I love our approach. Now the question is continuing to get better and responding from a frustrating loss, and that's I got full confidence in this group.
And then with the freshmen, last year you kind of had to play your guys just with the roster that you had. This year it feels like you can ease them in a little bit more. What's that been like for you? I know last year was a little bit maybe uncomfortable having them play them as much as you did.
Yeah.
What's it been like this time around?
Well, I think it's been good. I think it's going to allow those guys to come along maybe at their own pace. And I think the biggest thing is right now, if we feel like they help our team get better, or if our team's better when they're out there, and if they're playing their role at their highest level, then there'll be opportunities for them to play, and that's kind of what it's going to be based on. And guys got to keep getting better, whether they're freshmen or older guys. Got to keep getting better in practice.
Yeah, just I guess talking about UCLA now, they obviously have a lot younger team this year. A lot of freshmen and sophomores that are their impact players. So I guess what are maybe the challenges for your team, like maybe in film session, I guess reviewing a team that doesn't have a lot of film on them and you're still developing as players. Yeah,
it's a relatively new group. Again, they've got a couple returners that are some primary players for them. I mentioned Bona; he's a terrific player, and they've got some guards that return for him. But yeah, I think it's good thing is we have some film on these guys through. I think they played 9 games, so we have some film on them. So we have a decent feel and understanding. But that's true that's true in almost every roster you look at nowadays. There's so much change in rosters that you're constantly going back and watching their film from other schools or other places to learn about them and see what their bigger sample size is.
Yeah, then I guess specifically with Sebastian Mack, it seems like he's kind of developing sooner than maybe some other freshmen have in college basketball. So I guess what kind of jumps out to you over film, I guess? Yeah,
just really good player, really talented. You see how he's going to continue to get better as the season goes on. And I know at least from what I understand, they have high expectations for him. So it's going to be a great matchup for our guys.
It felt watching that Penn State game that second half they did a really good job of isolating some of your guys with matchups that were favorable to them.
Yep.
What can you guys do? It looked like you were switching screens on top to try and, minimize the confusion, I suppose, but then it kind of plays into their hands a little bit sometimes. What can you do to support the defender who gets isolated? I guess?
It wasn't to eliminate the confusion. It's just kind of what we do. We've switched. So we've looked at some things here this week, and we had some things in place, but we spent some more time looking at some things. If teams try to, find a matchup that they like and try to isolate it, that we've worked on this week to kind of alleviate those types of situations. But at the same time, there's going to be situations where guys got to sit down, keep the ball in front, and guard one-on-one. But we've looked at some ways we can help them.
Recognizing that obviously situations in games are different and opponents present different challenges. I had a reader send me this. They were asking about at the end of the Western Michigan game, outscored 28-14, Minnesota 54-42 in the last 22 minutes, and then obviously the Penn State game. And I know that's cherry picking numbers, but I just wonder when the defense plays so well for really good stretches, and then there's stretches where a team gets hot. How do you kind of reconcile where this defense is right now when you talked about consistency and all that stuff, for a full 40 minutes? But just, is it strange to you that you have these pockets where maybe a team gets hot the way that they have against you?
No, we need to be better defensively, in particular with a lead, and we need to be better for longer stretches, but certainly defensively with a lead. Again, teams are going to make runs in college basketball, but we need to be better. It's kind of what I was saying to Steve there. Yeah. We need to be better on that end in the second half when we have leads, but we need to really be better in the second half in general, because we have not been as good in the second half defensively.
And then I just wanted to ask you about Zed and kind of where he fits into the offense right now. When you're getting the production you're getting from your backcourt and Jameson's giving you what he's giving you, obviously Zed's playing a little bit of a different role than last year, but where is he as far as, hey, we need a bucket, let's get the ball to Zed down low and maybe settle things a bit?
Yeah, he's got to finish better. I think for one, he's got to be able to finish better, but he's done a good job with angles and with opportunities there. I think our offense is it's really centered around what our team's best shot is, and if there's opportunity there, and our guys need to find that opportunity for them. Okay. Anything else?
Just one more real quick.
Yeah.
Just one thing that Bruce said after the game was really interesting to me. When I asked him about responding to the Penn State game, he said, this team is player-led. And he made a point to emphasize that. When your point guard, one of your leaders says something like that, what is that? I guess, how does that resonate to you as a coach, and what do you think he might mean about what this team is about?
That's what you hope as a coach. That's what you really are planning for and hoping for, and I hope that continues to be the case. We all know that. You've heard many coaches say those are the best led teams. They're the one doing it, and it shows great ownership on his part, for one. But it's music to my ears, and now we've got to go out and execute and get better in those areas we've identified.